I mean, it's an ongoing conflict. It's the third year. Sometimes Ukraine makes advances and wins on the battlefield, and sometimes the Russians make advances. The challenge now is that this is open-ended. This is not a one-off. I mean, it's not going to be one hit and the conflict is resolved. The war is over. The war has been years and it's open-ended. It can last for 10 more years. That's the issue. The approach now the U.S. Takes on the conflict that is that it has to stop. It can't be open-ended. Too many people have died, and it has cost American taxpayers too much money. And there has to be an end in sight. There has to be some kind of agreement.
Now, the recent attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure has left millions without power. How might this impact Ukraine's ability to sustain its defenses?
I mean, I think the Ukraine can fight for years. If the West continues to support Ukraine, Ukraine can fight for 10 more years, actually, for open-ended, indefinitely, probably. To be able to take over, if Russia wants to take over Ukraine and the West is willing to put the money and the weapons in the fight can take a long time. Wars can take a long time. Look, Afghanistan, how long the U.S. stayed in Afghanistan, Vietnam War, even the Lebanese Civil War, 15 years. And it lasted 75 to 1990. So wars can take a long time as long as somebody is paying for it. I mean, if you have somebody providing the weapons and the money, then the war will continue. The Ukrainians are getting hit hard. I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, that's a hard hit for the Ukrainians, but that doesn't settle the issue. The war is not going to come to a close with the Russians and the Ukrainians on their own. As long as Ukrainians are getting support, this matter is not going to resolve. The attitude that the U.S. has with Trump administration is that there has to be an end to the conflict. There has to be some kind of agreement that will end it. Yeah.
Right. President
There's
Zelensky
a lot of suffering in Ukraine.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. President Zelensky has hinted at concessions for the NATO membership. What implications could this have for the broader conflict here?
There are ideas being floated as to how this conflict can end. The idea that Zelensky has, I don't think are the same as the ideas that Trump has. It seems like the thinking of Trump is reflected in a research paper written by the man that Trump wants to be his point man in the conflict. As to the Ukraine issue, I think the name is General Keith Kellogg. And this man served in the military for decades. He served in the National Security Council. Trump knows him. He worked with Trump. And he wrote a paper floating ideas on how the conflict can end. I don't think that Putin will accept that Ukraine in any shape or form becomes part of NATO.